The chemical formula for copper sulfate and iron is Fe plus CuSO4 yield FeSO4 plus Cu. So in this mason jar, I have weed killer, which is made up of copper sulfate, and then right here I have a nail, which is pure iron. So when the two materials are put together, there won't be like much of a reaction at first, but when the nail is left alone in the substance, over time the nail will begin to be covered in the copper sulfate, which is in the weed killer, and it'll appear that the nail is rusting and it'll start like turning brown, but it's really not rusting. It's just that the copper will slowly accumulate on the bottom of the glass and a brown solid copper metal will coat the nail. So the bottom of this glass and the nail will begin to be coated in a brown solid copper metal. I'm gonna drop it in, and like as you can see, there's no reaction, there's no bubbling or anything like that. But as the liquid stays on the nail will begin to dissolve because the electrons need a place to go and are picked up by the copper ions. This causes the copper ions to be plated or like covered in the brown copper metal. This is a chemical reaction because the copper is being formed on top of the iron. So this is an example of a single replacement because the copper sulfate that is in the weed killer and the nail, the iron, is becoming a copper metal that is on top of the iron and on the bottom of the glass. So when this is left for a while, you'll be able to see that, but it's only been in there. When doing our experiment, we realized that our weed killer did not contain copper sulfate and our nail was not iron. So that is what it should have looked like if you used the right materials, but we did not.
The chemical formula for bleaching hair is H2O2. Bleach is made up of NaClO or sodium chloride. This reacts with hair, which is made up of carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, and sulfur. Now we're going to show Peyton's hair getting bleached. To ensure that the chemical reaction is going to work, we have to make sure that it sits long enough. The reason Peyton's hair is going to lighten from the bleach is because bleach contains chromophores. The hydrochloric acid and atomic oxygen removes electrons from the molecule, which chemically changes the structure of the molecule and its physical properties. After letting the bleach sit, you're going to see Peyton's hair turn from dark brown to bright blonde because of the chemical reaction taking place.
Slowly.
You can see the color change. A decomposition reaction is taking place because the molecules are being broken apart during the reaction.
The chemical equation for rust is Fe plus O2 yields FeO2. You are about to see the effects of metal coming into contact with water and oxygen or any other kind of moisture. When rust comes into contact with metal, it leaves permanent damage. This is the rust, and it leaves permanent damage on all kinds of metal. We know this is a chemical reaction because two substances are coming together to form a brand new chemical reaction. This is iron oxide.
Yeah. Here's another example of rust on a chair.
The chair is now permanently damaged from the rust.
These scissors have rust. The sink is also affected by rust.
A single displacement reaction is taking place. We know this because one of the components in the equation is being taken over by... We know this because one of the components in the reaction is being taken over by another substance in the formula.
For our combustion reaction, we're going to be using a campfire mixed with natural gas and brake fluid to show our combustion reaction. The chemical equation for fire is CH4 plus 2O2 yields CO2 plus 2H2O. I'm going to show the effects of a campfire when you use natural gas and brake cleaner to create the combustion. Campfires are good examples of combustion because they use carbon, but they also use other mixtures and substances. Campfires are a good example of combustion because they use carbon, but you can also use other mixtures of chemicals. With the added fuel, the fire is creating water vapor and carbon dioxide because the fuel contains hydrocarbons. My dad's gonna spray the brake cleaner now to create the reaction. Oh my god! So we know that a combustion reaction is taking place because oxygen, heat, and fuel are all being used to create the campfire.
An example of double replacement is water going through a water softener. Here's the formula, and it's Ca parentheses HCO3 parentheses 2 plus Na2R yields CaR plus 2Na HCO3. Water filtering through a water softener is an example of double replacement because the calcium and magnesium are actively being replaced within the reaction. This is the inside of a water softener. The salt inside of a water softener is what makes the hard water into soft water. Most water softener salts are made of sodium chloride, but some could be made with potassium chloride. By pouring hard water into this water softener, it'll filter the hard water, which is highly concentrated with magnesium, calcium, and other dissolved metals within the water. The magnesium and calcium get changed to sodium ions, which makes the water soft.